Good, thank you.
Okay. You sit right here.
Are you recording?
Yeah, we'll record it. And we'll make sure we go over things. Like I said, man, all you gotta do is tell the truth. We'll let them lie. Okay. Now, identify yourself. Your name.
Elaine Dural. And the day that they came over.
What's today's date? Today's date is the 18th. Today's May 18th, 2013.
Right. So this would have been over a year ago.
Okay.
And more than a year ago, because it would have been in March, probably.
Right.
March of 2012.
Right, because when he came over to my house, it was May. Like a month later, he came over exactly a month later, and it was May.
Right, and it happened in March.
Right.
And I don't know the exact day.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
Before they even came over, where you were at and exactly what?
I was laying on the couch watching TV. And the only reason I remember that is because I always watch Channel 4 during the day. I just happened to be watching Channel 4. And I think it was probably between 2 and 3 o'clock because I was watching one of my shows that I always watch. And I think the show that was on that day was like Deal or No Deal, or
right.
One of those shows like
Game show.
Right. And I was watching one of my game shows. And all I hear is just bang at the door, like really loud bang at the door. And I entered the door, and they said, "Can we come in?" And I said, "No."
Did they identify themselves? Who did they say they were? When you opened the door, what was the first thing they said?
I don't remember exactly.
They show you any badges?
No.
They show you anything? Did they identify who they were?
No.
Did you? How did you know that they were police? At what point did you become aware they were police?
They had their uniforms on.
They were officers in uniform?
Yes.
Okay. So they were regular police officers in uniform. I thought they were unmarked detectives.
There was like three people there. One was in uniform.
Was he there from the get-go when you opened the door? How many people were at the door?
2 were at the door.
Uh-huh.
And they were not dressed. And one was dressed, but he was at his car, getting out of his car.
You mean by dressed, you mean in uniform?
In uniform, yeah.
So the 2 that were at the door were undercover. Yeah, I'm good. The 2 that were at the door came. So when you answered the door, there were 2 undercover.
Right.
But and how did you know they were cops?
Because the cop cars. They all had cop cars.
They were all police cars there.
Right.
Okay. And what did they say to you? Try to remember when you opened up the door. You said. What did you say? Who said what first?
I just looked at them because I didn't know why they were there.
Right.
And they said something like, they said something about the house. That they had heard that there was something in this house, something around this house, or they had heard about this house. They had heard about this house, and they wanted to come in. And I said no.
Okay.
And they said, "Well, we just need to come in." I said no. "Well, we just want to come in and talk to you." I said no. And the dog's barking. And the dog keeps barking and continues to bark. And and I'm trying to get control of the dog at the same time the officers are trying to get in the door.
Right.
And I'm trying to get the dog, and they're saying, "Well, we'll give you time to get the dog." And I said, no, it's okay. And I'm trying to keep them out of the door. And at the same time, I'm trying to keep the dog inside the house.
Okay, so they're trying to push their way into the door?
Right, they're trying to push their way into the door.
And no warrant? They didn't say they had a warrant?
No, they didn't have a warrant. And because I asked them, at one point or another, I said, well, do you have a warrant? They said no. They said, can we come in? I said no. They said, well, we just want to come in for a second. I said no. They said, we're coming in. They pushed their way in. Period. That is the way they got in.
That's illegal.
Now the dog kept barking, and because the dog was barking and I turned around to pick up the dog, that's when they came in the door.
Took advantage of that opportunity.
Right. And they pushed their way in, and that's the way they intended on
staying. And then what did they do once
house.
they got in the house? What did they say? What did you say?
I said, why are you coming in? Well, we need to talk to you. We just want to talk to you. Well, once they got in, two of them started walking around the house, looking around. They started going in different rooms. They started looking around. They just kept moving around.
Did you ask them if they had a warrant?
Yes.
What did they say?
They said no. I said, well, what are you doing? Well, we're looking around. And they continued to look around, and they continued to search around. They asked me whose rooms was whose rooms. At that point, I just cooperated and told them whose was whose and what was what.
Did you ask them what they were looking for?
They said they were looking for drugs, basically. And they said that they had heard that the roommate that lived there was in trouble with drugs and that they were looking specifically for that.
And they can come into the house without a warrant?
No, but they did.
They did, okay. And you requested, you asked if they had a warrant, and they told you no, they did not.
Right.
And they basically, did they say that they didn't need one? How did they?
They said they didn't need one because they had probable cause.
Okay.
They said they had heard there was something in that house.
Okay. So anybody can say anything to anybody. I could say that you've got heroin in your house and they can go search anybody's house just based on somebody's word.
No.
Well, that's what they believe.
Right, that's what they said.
Right. They're violating your constitutional rights.
Right.
Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights have all been violated.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no question about it.
Okay. And they're continuing to do this. They just did it to my sister now 2 nights ago.
Right.
Because they think they can get away with it.
Right.
Should they be able to get away with it?
No. It's the same cops in the same area. This is twice now.
Twice with Kelly?
Right.
Oh, they did it with me, too.
Right.
Happened twice. Happened with William. William was also tased. Okay. Did they ever handcuff you while they were there?
No.
Okay.
No.
And where were they at when Chris came out? What did he say when he got out of the bathroom?
Oh, the bathroom. That's right.
He was in the bathroom taking a shower.
He was in the shower.
Uh-huh.
And he came out and he said, what are you doing here? Why are you in my house? And they said, because we have a reason to be here. And, he said, at that point, they had found something. So they were using that to...
But that doesn't give them a reason to come into the house in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, they're doing that on hearsay. They're coming into your house illegally based on hearsay.
Right.
They said they heard something.
Right.
Did you ask them who they heard that from?
No.
You guys have a right to face your accusers. That's one of your constitutional rights in America. You have the right to face your accusers.
Right.
That was never given to any of you guys. You still don't know who it was that accused you of doing this.
Right. Right.
Okay, so after this happened, what happened with Chris? Just tell me when he got out, he asked them what they were doing here, and they said that, and what did he do? How did he react? Just relive the whole thing best you can.
He basically did the same thing that I did. Well, do you have a warrant? No, we don't need one. That's what they told him. We don't need one. We don't have to have a warrant. We were invited in. I said, no, you weren't.
They lied and said they were invited in?
Yes, they lied to him and they said they were invited in. I said, no, they weren't. Chris said, you let them in. I said, no, I didn't let them in. They came in. I told him that. Because I wanted to make sure that he knew that I did not let them in. I never let them in from the beginning.
Why would you? They lied. They did the same thing with me. They told me that I opened up the trunk of my car when the police officer in the police report, he claims that I opened up myself. Why would I do that? Why would you let them in? They don't tell the truth. But that's, they're not on the stand yet.
Right.
Get them under oath, then you have to say if they'll lie under oath.
Right.
They think they've gotten away with this. They haven't gotten away with it.
Right.
Because we're not going to let them get away with it, are we?
Right.
Why should we?
Right.
You know, if we have to obey the law, shouldn't the police have to obey the law?
Yes.
Are they above the law?
No.
No, they're not.
No.
Absolutely not.
No, and I called, my mother was a police officer through her lifetime, and I called her when this happened, and I said, is this right? And she said no. And we talked it over.
What did she tell you to do about it?
She told me the same thing. She said, you can't let this go because it's wrong. She said the exact same thing.
Well, that was before Chris died.
Right.
Okay, so go back and back it all. So what happened after this happened? You know, how it affected Chris. He was pretty distraught.
Well, he was depressed. He was depressed. You know, he was afraid of losing his job over all this.
That was his main concern, was losing his job because he had reported to the gaming commission.
Right. And he was totally distressed over the whole thing. And it totally brought him down.
Yeah, he wasn't really eating or sleeping at all after that.
No.
Really. Yeah, when he came over to my house, he looked terrible.
Right.
He looked horrible. I could tell, you know, and he was crying and he'd been devastated.
Right. He was devastated. There's no question about it.
Did they ever come back again after that?
No.
Did they give you an inventory of what they took? When they confiscated and took property from your place, did they give you any type of written inventory of what they were taking?
No.
So they could claim anything that they found. There's no inventory. There's nothing stating this is what we're taking. So
Right.
they could put something else in there and say, we found this too.
Right.
No documentation whatsoever. They give them any paperwork when they left?
No.
They just came in illegally with no warrant, seized property, and left.
No, they took Chris.
They took Chris with them? They arrested him? Was he charged? They took him in handcuffs?
They took him in handcuffs. And then I later picked him up. But he was not charged.
Did you have to post bond?
No.
They just let him go?
They let him go.
And what did he tell you when you picked him up? What did they say to him?
They told him that that they were letting him go, but that they would pursue it at a later date.
Did they interrogate him?
Yes.
Did they ever read him his rights?
No.
But they did interrogate him?
Yes.
Trying to find out where he got stuff from and
Yes.
everything? And he was never read his rights?
He was never read his rights.
Okay. That's illegal, isn't it?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to his brothers about this?
No.
Was it difficult for him to go to work after this happened?
Yes. Yes.
So it affected his job, it affected his personal life, it affected
It
his...
affected everything.
He worked very hard to get back to where he was, hadn't he?
Right. Right.
It took him a long time after losing his job at Harris Casino to get back. He started at the bottom at President's and crawled all the way back up to get to the new River City Casino.
Right. He lost his job, he lost his house, he was finally on his way back up, and then this all happened and he didn't know what to do. He was totally distraught.
So you feel the Florissant police destroyed his life?
Absolutely.
It's tragic.
It is tragic.
How you been holding up?
Not very good.
You miss him, don't you?
A lot.
I miss him too. But we're gonna fight for him. We're gonna fight for him, and we'll make them pay for what they did because it's wrong. You guys didn't deserve it. You weren't doing anything that day but minding your own business. They can't just come into your house without a warrant and terrorize you like that and lie and say that you invited them in, claim things that aren't true. They're not above the law. They're public servants. They're paid with our tax dollars. And they're trying to make fools of us. And somebody has to put an end to it. Somebody has to speak up, and thanks for being brave enough to be one of the ones that's standing up to make things right.
Right.
God bless you. We're going to make this right, you know.